Is there anybody else besides me that thinks that Disney's in a world of hurt? I do. They seem to have put themselves between a proper rock and a proper hard place. And I don't know if that's the place that you want to be if you're a company that's trying to emerge from a form of stagnation that really isn't tolerable in the entertainment industry. It certainly isn't tolerable if you're trying to remain in a top position as a blue chip stock on the Dow. Disney, you're not doing it. And we're going to have to see how this works out. Recently, there was an article that got published over on thatparkplace.com, written by our friend WDW Pro. And while I didn't have an opportunity to go through it over the weekend, I have a chance to do so with you today. And he seems to suspect the same thing I do, that the Walt Disney Company has much to fear with the outcome of the leadership selection we're about to go through. There are proxies and polls and more. Oh my. And I think this could go badly for Bob. He may cry. Just 1 month shy of a year ago, at least when this article was written, on November 30th of 2023, Nelson Peltz threw his hat into the ring in a proxy battle against the current leadership of the Walt Disney Company. Though unsuccessful, Peltz, November of 2024, is shaping up to be perhaps even more formidable for CEO Bob Iger, with headwinds at every single corner. It's not just the opportunity for a new activist investor to take on the company that has struggled to stay north of $100 per share. It's the drawing of a socio-political environment in stark contrast with the vision of a megacorporation that wants to reimagine tomorrow. Well, they've got a lot of problems there. And now Pro in the article does something brilliant. He lays out a scenario that is more than a little bit plausible. Let's play what is looking like a less likely scenario for a moment and explain why Disney faces a struggle no matter which way the political balance tips. If the best pal of Dana Walden somehow is able to secure the position in the White House, the Walt Disney Company threw the candidate a major assist with an ABC News debate where the moderators admitted they practiced a one sided fact check. That's right. Their motivation? The terrible performance of the other candidate that just kind of tanked on CNN. It's reported that co moderator David Muir had studied hours of campaign rallies and interviews to prepare for this event. Well, to prepare specifically for one candidate. The fix was in, with a decision being made to attempt to correct the candidates was in response to June 27th CNN debate. Of course, ABC Capital Cities is under the umbrella of the Walt Disney Company. And, well, that's supposed to be their news division. Who heads that? Well, the VP over there is Dana Walden, best friends with the current candidate for the Democratic ticket. In fact, they are such good friends that Walden introduced Harris to her husband. Well, he's got a little bit of a past problem, but you can look that up for yourself. We're not doing politics here. They're literally that close. They're picking each other's spouses out. How crazy. But all is not great in Walden land. No, because the numbers just don't add up, either with the network television nor the streaming. In fact, it could be argued that absent a few accidental missteps in the right direction, they could be sitting in the middle of the pack in a situation where they can't justify their share price. For example, the evidence provided by Pro is the Nielsen ratings week after week, looking at how Disney's been dominated by Netflix, Amazon, and even Paramount and Max on certain things. Disney tends to only make the charts these days when they have acquired properties, not when they do something originally. And once they've acquired things, they tend to run them into the ground. But there's been some pivots, direction changes, maybe a change in the wind that has occurred because the move by James Gorman that recently happened seems to indicate a longer strategy when it comes to succession, one that looks primarily at outside candidates. So even this particular move, or this maneuver to try to keep the leadership in place, may not work. The move by Gorman to say that Disney is targeting a 2026 CEO announcement suggests that the board thinks the internal candidates, which include Dana Walden, Josh D'Amaro, Jimmy Pitaro, and Alan Bergman, are not quite ready to take over yet. But the 2026 date doesn't mean they can't make moves in 2025. And they certainly could, because there are better, more able candidates having their contracts expire at other companies. Of course, the political races are incredibly tight right now. We're headed into that part of the campaign that's the nail biter. It's 24 hours a day, 3 days straight until you lead into the last Tuesday that matters in the United States this year. Well, that's not quite true. Every single Tuesday and Thursday, you definitely want to follow everybody around on our various channels. But I'm talking about politically. Now we have to talk about the cultural shift, not at Disney, but across the entire nation, if we do have a change in direction in the highest position in the United States, the President of the United States. No matter what, we'll have a change, of course. That's not lost on me. But let's say the little initial goes from a D to an R. What happens then? Well, if it's done convincingly and with a lot of authority, or what some people might refer to as a mandate, they could have control of everything. That would be unbelievable. But things get a lot more dicey for the mouse then. You see, Disney has been strongly pushing this Reimagine Tomorrow baloney sausage doctrine. That's basically like a religion that's walked its way around the house of mouse in a way that's driven qualified people away, people with longevity, people with experience, people with merit, people with qualifications. And they've been replaced, all because of a doctrine. You see, this program doesn't just affect the people, though. It affects everything. It affects storytelling, the creative processes, and hiring practices. And as Pro writes it here, it's so egregiously malignant that the company will actually promote the program by rapidly playing older movies from Disney in a way that suggests they believe Walt's legacy is one of a pale patriarchal force that must be torn down. Forget for a moment that Walt worked tirelessly himself to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to work with and for him. He went out of his way to put a black actor in one of his films and received what would be called an eternal Oscar for doing so, the award that only 2 other people have ever received. So they can't be trying to do that, can they? Likewise, Disney seems to have worked very hard to decimate their own theme park industry with questionable decision after questionable decision. Tearing down the most popular attraction, which can't be argued. We know Splash Mountain was that particular edifice for most of their parks around the globe that have them, and replacing that with something wholly inadequate and not ready for prime time. All because they wanted to meet an artificial time frame with which they could report success of removing something that was beloved. Who does this sound like recently? They even went as far as to replace all the language in the parks because they're afraid of gendered language, things that we've been using in civilization up until about 5 minutes ago. And they believe it so staunchly that if you are an unbeliever, you will be shunned in various ways within their organization. Don't believe me? Ask a thoughtful cast member. And as we've pointed out many times, not just here on my channel, but on WDW Pro, Valiant Renegade, That Park Place, Comics Division, and many other locations, Disney World attendance is going down. The participation in the parks is going down. They're artificially holding ride times high so that they can sell this new plus ticket plan that is, I don't know, something that would infuriate Walt at this point in time. But as you can see quite clearly, based on this chart, these numbers are tanking hard, and they ain't getting better anytime soon. And consider this. If all of these things are coming about from an effort of a forced program that's pretty illegal in various ways, don't you think that Congress and the President of the United States might get involved at Disney? They could. And in my opinion, they should. So, in a way, it is very much like Disney at odds with America. America doesn't have time for any of this, and Disney shouldn't either. They've put themselves over a barrel in a way that I don't think they're going to be very comfortable with, no matter which way the pendulum swings. We'll know more in just a couple of days. We hope. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you have to say about where Disney's at, what the future could be, just how at odds they are with the American people, and just how odds they are with themselves, not to mention a bunch of laws. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, share this video around there, double check you're subscribed, and if you're not, please do so. We're trying to get to 50K here, and your subscription will help. On that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya.